here. Today we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We're gonna kind of switch up the theme a little bit. Something we thought that we might have a bit of fun with is what we're calling vinyl time travel. With vinyl time travel, what we're each going to do is we're each going to showcase an album from a specific decade. We've got the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. We'll each pick an album, talk about it, and then we will travel to a different decade and talk about that one and just kind of go back and forth and hopefully have a little bit of fun in between.
You got it. That's
Awesome.
right. I'm excited. I'm
Yeah,
stoked. And I believe that you said that I would be starting today, right?
that's right. Yeah, I started last time, so you'll kick us off and hop into the old DeLorean there. And what decade, what year are you going to take us to first, Bongo?
Okay. So here we go. Starting us off today, we're starting with the 60s, right? That's what we agreed
You
to
can
here.
start wherever you want. You've got the controls. You can start wherever you want.
Well, I think it makes sense starting in the 60s, right?
That's totally fine.
Okay. I don't know if I'm ready to throw everybody for a loop. Okay. So we're going to fast forward through the majority of the 60s.
Yes.
And we're going to visit the year 1969, an amazing year in music. And my 60s time travel vinyl that I'm going to talk about today from the 60s.
Oh.
This is, as you can see, I got them Cosmic Blues. Again, Mama, from Janice Joplin. So this is 1969. This is a solo release. I think she had just left her group. I think it was Big Brother and the Holding Company that she had just
Big Brother
left.
and the Holding Company, yeah.
And then so she had split off and created this album. And now there's only 2 original songs on this album. But what's really interesting is that with this album, she left behind the kind of psychedelic acid rock that she had become known for with the other band. And this vinyl wasn't actually very well received when it first was released because it was so much different from the other psychedelic stuff. It was more soulful, a lot more soulful, and a lot more bluesy as well. And there's a lot more horns on this album. So if you hear Janis Joplin music with a lot of horns on it, it's probably from this album.
Okay.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved this album.
Awesome. So I'm trying to think on that one. Is that Try? Would that be is Try on that one?
Yes, it is. Yes, Try is on this album. Yes, Try is absolutely on this album.
And I think so. Piece of My Heart. I think that was with Big Brother and the Holding Company. So I don't think it's on that one's on there.
Yes, that you are correct. Exactly. Yeah. So what do we got here? Sorry. Yeah, Try. Sorry. Did I say there was Try on here?
Yeah,
Yes.
I said that.
Try.
I said that, yeah.
Try maybe One Good Man, As Good as You've Been to This World, To Love Somebody, Cosmic Blues, Little Girl Blue, Work Me Lord. And
To Love Somebody, is that the old like Bee Gees, the old Bee Gees song?
I'd have to off the top of my head.
Does it say who was written? Is it the Gibbs?
I don't know. It doesn't say. It doesn't give the writing credit on here, unfortunately.
Okay.
But darn it, I should have known this.
No, that's all right. That's
a great point here, though.
Because that's a very like widely covered song. It's a really good one actually. If it's the one that I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah. It's just a beautifully soulful album, and I feel like the kind of music on this LP, that soulful tone really allows Janice's voice to shine. It really does. Not to say that the psychedelic rock doesn't, but I don't know. She can. She's just, well, you know how good of a vocalist she is, right?
Yeah. We talked about, I feel like last time we mentioned the 27 Club. And
yes.
Janice is certainly a member of the 27 Club.
Yeah. Bittersweetly, right? You know,
Absolutely.
there's something hopelessly romantic about living your life to the point where you basically destroy yourself. But at the same time, it's like, oh, you know, what what if she remained making music throughout like
Yeah,
the rest of her career, and we missed out on hearing her voice change and evolve over the years too.
yeah.
But
She
like
had.
you, yeah. But there's still something also, yeah, hopelessly romantic about,
Hmm.
yeah, better to burn out than fade away, right?
That's
Like,
exactly what I was gonna say. It's right. Better to burn out than fade away, man.
yeah, yeah,
Old Neil Young adage. Um,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like that would be such an album where she kind of had to, like you said, it's a bit of a switch from Big Brother and the Holding Company, almost like she had to make a statement and
yeah,
kind of do her own thing from what people would know her from.
exactly. And so this was released in '69. In 2 years, she was dead.
That's right. That's right.
Like, just gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, certainly a lasting legacy from Janice there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. I was just gonna say, welcome, Memorial Man, to the stream. I think we've corrected those audio issues. It sounds like you can hear us well now. So thank you for keeping us up to date to make sure that our tech stuff is all in line. So yeah, I mean this, yeah, and you know what? I did listen to this right before going live as well. So I did enjoy this album during dinner time.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so it's funny that you mentioned 1969 because my
Is also from
my
that
pick is
year.
also 1969,
Okay.
a good year in music.
Oh, it's like the climax of the '60s, right?
That's right. Now, I chose this
Let's see
because
it. Let's see it.
in our last chat,
Yeah.
you had your number one pick from 1972. We did
Uh,
albums
I think
turning 50.
I think I know where this is going. Yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
And so I felt bad because I didn't have so you had Exile on Main Street.
Yeah,
I didn't have Exile on Main Street, which I said would
yeah,
have been in my list if I had it, but I didn't. But I
yeah.
do, however, have Rolling Stones Let It Bleed.
Oh, probably
So,
my fave by the Stones.
yes, excellent.
Yeah,
Oh, the music critic is with us. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. We're doing vinyl time travel today, so we're going through different decades. And my friend Bongo here from Bongo Picks, we're talking about some different records from different decades. So this is my choice for 1960s, 1969. This was November 1969. Beggar's Banquet was before this, and
yeah,
we talked last time kind of about the what I would call like the sweet spot
yeah,
of really of any band, but of the Rolling Stones. You got Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and then Exile on Main Street, which are kind of like the four. In my opinion, is like if you're gonna own four Stones albums, those are kind of the four to have.
yeah,
But anyways,
yeah.
this album specifically has like one of the greatest opening tracks ever,
Ever.
ever. Gimme Shelter, which is just amazing.
Yeah,
Honestly, this is like a perfect album for like like so many legendary songs on this. Every track is good. Um,
yeah,
it's a very like kind of bluesy, country-ish. Like there's a bit of, there's a lot of country blues, like American blues twang. You've got like harmonica, you've got even some like violin, fiddle in
yeah,
this. Um, Obviously, I mentioned Gimme Shelter, which is an excellent opening. They've got Country Honk, which is like the country version of Honky Tonk Women, which is
yeah.
awesome. You Can't Always Get What You Want closes out the album. And that's one of the songs that always reminds me of you and Andrea because you guys do a great rendition of that on your Saturday night jams on your channel. Anyone who doesn't know, Bongo does a jam from his camp here, and he does an excellent version. Every Saturday, he'll do a jam. So I have a comment here. The music critic says, those four are my only five-star Stones records. I'm a bit more harsh on them than others are. Yeah, I would definitely agree. 5 stars on those four. So that's excellent. Also, what's cool about this album is that you've got Keith Richards singing
Yes.
singing lead vocals on what is it, Silver?
You've got the
The Sil.
silver, you've got the
What is it?
gold. Is that at?
And then
Yeah,
I always thought what was interesting about this is that when you think of like the Stones and the Beatles, who like they were friends, but they had this sort of like competitive rivalry like throughout the 60s, you know.
yeah.
I always thought it was interesting that like the Stones released Let It Bleed in 1969, and then like only a few months later, I think like 5 months later, the Beatles released Let It Be in like May of 1970. I always just thought that was weird. Like they're so close in name, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I it's so funny you mentioned that, because then even if you look at the original Beggar's Banquet cover, was this minimalist white album. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've seen.
yeah,
Okay, so was the Beatles
abs
self-titled white
absolutely.
album.
Well,
So and the Stones, further to that, Her Majesty's Satanic
absolutely.
Verses,
Their psychedelic
they
album.
so it's funny because the Stones are so interesting because they are pioneers, but at the same time, they were also following the Beatles a little bit. Like the
Uh,
Beatles were giving them some cues, but nevertheless, I think the Stones still have that distinction of being trailblazers for sure. But they do have like this funny way that they echoed the Beatles, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of like competitive rivalry there. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, like the Beatles, as innovative as the Beatles were, and
Yeah,
as great as they never did blues quite as well as the Stones did.
I agree. I 1,000% agree. Yeah, yeah.
I have a comment
They
here from the music critic. My father would say Some Girls as a 5 star, but at his age, that's the only Stones record they listen to. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Some Girls, I think, is a fantastic album. It's absolutely fantastic. Like
Yeah.
that's a great point, music critic, because those four albums that we just talked about, those are as good as anything that anybody could produce in pop culture. And then I feel like Some Girls is that honorary fifth member of that power group of
Yeah.
albums. Like Some Girls was a comeback album of the ages. That is a fantastic album. But
Yeah.
still, I think Let It Be takes the cake, no pun intended.
Let It Bleed, you mean, or Let It
Let
Be?
it bleed. Did I say let it
You
be?
said
I
Let It
mean,
Be.
let it bleed
But
takes
see,
the
this is what I'm
cake.
talking about. They're so similar. Well, the
They
name
are so
differences, right?
similar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, and it's cool. This weird like
It's
cake, and
beautiful.
it's a tire, and it's like a film reel, and then a little record player. It's cool. Gramophone.
Yeah. It's so good.
Okay, so that was we just explored the 60s. Now, oh, I guess it's me. Okay, I'm gonna take us. Okay, I'm gonna hop in the DeLorean here and take us to another decade.
Let's go. Let me guess. Are we going to the 70s?
Well, do we want to just
Or are
go?
you skipping? Are you skipping?
I kind of feel like, we've got this, we can time travel here, so
Okay.
we don't have to just go. I think
All right.
I'm going to go. Yes, I'm gonna throw a wrench in the spokes here right now.
I can't wait.
So critic is asking, what's Bongo's channel called? Bongo?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So I'm broadcasting on Twitch right now. So you can find me on YouTube. I think it's yeah, just look up Bongo Picks on YouTube,
Yes.
and I do have a channel there. But currently I'm just streaming on Twitch, and you can find me twitch.tv/Bongo Picks.
Yeah. And then you also like when you do your jams, you'll stream that through YouTube as well, right?
I do upload them on YouTube. Yeah. You,
Yeah.
you know what's funny? Because my Twitch is monetized, technically I am contractually obligated to only stream live to Twitch. So I used to split the stream, like to simultaneously stream to YouTube and Twitch, but then I did some reading, and that's actually not allowed under my terms of service.
Okay. Okay.
So what I'll normally do is, so what I'll end up doing for those of you that are watching on YouTube, and if you do follow Bongo Picks YouTube, basically I will upload this video probably tomorrow or the day after. But if you want to watch live, twitch.tv/Bongo Picks. That's where you can find me.
And that's Bongo PIX.
You got it. Yeah, Bongo PIX, all one word.
Okay, cool. So, yes, I'm gonna just like mayhem, just chaos right now, and I'm
Let's do
gonna
it.
go from the 60s to the 2010s.
Oh wow, that's a
Okay.
huge jump.
Yeah, a huge jump, massive
The
jump.
the fashion is different. Everything looks different. We
We
have
get,
internet.
that's right, we get out of the time machine and we don't even know what's going on. Okay.
Where am I?
My option. This is from the year 2017.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite artists, a Canadian
Okay.
boy. This
Okay.
is Matt Mays. Once Upon a Hell of
Nice.
a Time. As I said, this is from 2017. Um, and Bongo, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you and I saw Matt Mays at the Horseshoe
With our
Tavern
friend
as well,
Sean
with
at
our
the
friend Sean.
Horseshoe Tavern. That's right.
Funny, this is the second time we've referenced our friend Sean Lagan in our live.
He's our spiritual brother, right?
That's right. That's right. This is on a really cool clear.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, clear. And this is actually this is a 40 so it runs at 45 rotations per minute. So it's on two discs. A really beautiful. I love like the artwork here
That's
on
beautiful.
this album. And I have so here I have a little signature there from Mr. Mays
No
himself.
way.
When I met him, I've met him a couple times. I met him at I think it was at the Dakota Tavern. I met him and I got him to sign this. And a really beautiful, and there's some really nice tracks on this one. This is one of my favorite albums of his. Starts off with a great song called Trust Life, Sentimental Sins. There's a great song called Drive On. Um, Howl at the Night, NYC Girls. Now, I know with Mays, he does a lot of traveling and he gets inspiration out of the places that he travels to and he'll write. And he's got a few songs about California. He's got some songs about New York, and this one, NYC Girls. Honestly, I could name the whole track listing here.
Yeah.
Specifically, there's one song called Station Out of Range that is
Yeah.
really good. A really good. I've heard him play it live. It's got a really good like call and answer with the audience kind of like doing this little call, and then he sings as well.
Yeah.
And then speaking, we're talking about records. He's got a song on this album called 78s, 33s, and 45s.
Beautiful. Can I ask you, where did you purchase that? At a store or at one of his shows?
I think I purchased this at I think he did a release party, and I think it was at the Dakota Tavern, and I went to the release party and I met him there. Well, I'd already met him, but I met him for a second time, and it was with my friend Sean Langan, and we met him and got this signed. And I think actually we had a drink with Mr. Mays that night, and
It's
so.
amazing.
Sean and I have we have this kind of running joke where because we've met him, we have pictures with him, we have like his
Yeah.
autograph, so we like whenever we reference him, we like to call our close personal friend Matt Mays. So yeah, this is definitely an album worth picking up. And actually, while we're talking about it, so there's so this is from 2017. In 2018, he made a kind of sister album to this one that's
Yeah.
called so this is called Once Upon a Hell of a Time. He made an album called Twice Upon a Hell of a Time. And it's this whole album reworked into acoustic tracks. So
Wow.
he like acoustified if this whole album and did his own spin on it, and it's like the same cover except it's like the like all the colors are inversed, so it's really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when artists pay that much attention to detail in the physical presentation of their work.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. That's a work of art that you're holding right there. That's
Absolutely,
great.
it really
Yeah.
is. And it's a nice, we were talking
Yeah.
about artwork on albums, and this is really nice. I think actually the artist he has a song on this called Ola Volo, and
Okay.
I think that's the name of the artist who made this album cover. He actually wrote a song about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so that's my 2010s selection.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about my 2010s because we are currently in the 2010s.
That's
It
right.
would it would be far too jarring to go back to the 70s now that we
That's
are
right.
in the 2010s right now.
That's
We got
right.
to spend a little bit more time here, figure out how to use social media and the
So,
internet and everything
that's
like
right.
that.
Soak it up.
Okay, so what a coincidence. You've brought forward some Canadian content while we're talking about the 2010s. I'm going to do the same thing. I've chosen to talk about a Canadian album here. So this is John K. Samson,
Oh, nice.
John K. Samson, Winter Wheat.
Great.
And so this is the lead guitarist and singer of the Weaker Thans,
Yes.
but his solo band. Yeah.
And Weaker Thans are a fantastic band. Unfortunately, they are no longer together, but they released some really, really nice albums.
Yeah, they were very active in the 2000s.
Yes.
The Weaker Thans were probably their indie breakthrough album. They never got mainstream, the Weaker Thans, but probably their most well-known album is called Reconstruction Site.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a fantastic album. The Weaker Thans are known as, they're like a pop punk band, but with Bob Dylan level lyrics, like real, like very just rich, like the way John K. Samson writes, he doesn't waste a single word or a single breath or a single syllable. Like like one line can have more meaning than just the average song. Like very, very meaningful words. He's a poet. In fact, he did do he was a I don't know if it was, I don't know what the word is, whether it's associate professor or like part-time professor of creative writing at, I forget where it was. I think a university out west. Anyways, I can't remember what university exactly. So he's even done like academic type of work. And he talks, actually in this album, he does talk about, for example, there's a song called Post-Doc Blues. So I think that he spent a lot of time studying literature and poetry as well. And that's what a lot about this album is. This album also has a lot of sentimental meaning to me because I bought this album at the last show that I saw pre-pandemic. Now this album was released in 2016. So you might be wondering, Bongo, how are you not at a show between 2016 and 2019? And that's the answer is because I live in the forest and I rarely get a chance to visit the city. Actually, that's not 100% true. I did see John Prine in December 2019. Yeah, I did. So, but one of my last shows anyways, I don't see enough shows because I do live in the forest, but it was at the Mod Club on College Street in Toronto.
Yeah. I used to live right like a stone's throw from the Mod Club. I could see it from my back patio.
That's incredible. Yeah. So I'd never been to the Mod Club, so I have a lot of special memories of being there at the Mod Club. And I remember we specifically bought this at the end of the show because I didn't want to ruin it as I was dancing and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And it's a really, like, again, talk about artwork. Just John writes a lot about the prairies. He's obsessed with the prairies. That's where he's born and raised, and that's where he spends a lot of his time as well. And the other thing that I'm quickly going to show you as well that I really like about this album is it's colored as well. So you can see how it's just like a solid yellow color.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
And then the other one I think is like a blue. Is it blue? Yes, I think it is.
Cool.
So, I'm a sucker for the eye candy.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful album. There's a little bit of spoken word on this album as well. And his partner, Christine Fellows, plays on it as well. She was at the show as well when we saw them. And yeah, so just like some Canadian content from the 2010s, just very expressive poetry, kind of straddles the border between punk and folk. That's kind of John K's style.
Yes. So I don't know that album really at all, but I do know the Weaker Thans quite well. And and I can agree with you in the sense of like very poetic lyrics, meaningful stuff. And also, like what I really like about Canadian artists, he sings about Canadian things and like Canadian
1000%.
provinces and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And and like for example, like everybody loves Neil Young is a legend, right? An absolute legend. But there's something so cool about artists like John Kay and the Tragically Hip that never leave Canada
yeah,
and they remain artists that truly embody Canadiana. You know, they'll do their international tours and everything, but at the end of the day, they go home to their humble Canadian roots, right? So
yeah,
I also love
exactly.
that too.
Yeah. Now I never saw the. Sorry, I actually did see the Weaker Thans. I saw they were opening for the Tragically Hip in Fort York. Uh,
Nice.
a show, and this was a long time ago, like probably 2004 or 2005. I would have seen them, and that was the only time I ever got to see them.
Yeah. Hey, you at least got to see them once, and hey,
Yeah,
you saw them with the hip. That
that's
is
right.
amazing.
That's right. Okay, so that's the 2010s. Bongo, you have the controls of the time machine. Where are you taking us?
Ooh, I got the control here. Let's do 70s. Let's go.
Okay,
Started with 60s. We're gonna go all the way
okay,
back to the 70s here.
okay.
Okay, so this is an album that was actually recorded. Uh, well, okay, I'll tell you what it is. Actually, can you guess? Just by looking at this, can you guess?
Oh, that is it the basement tapes?
You're right.
Yes,
Bingo.
basement
Basement
tapes.
tapes.
Pass the
Basement
test.
tapes. You did pass the test. Beautiful album cover.
So is
One
it
of
Bob? Is it
these.
Bob Dylan and the band? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So as I was thinking about what I was going to talk about in today's stream, I wanted some Bob Dylan. I wanted the band. And then I thought, well, you know what? There's this incredible album where the two combine their talents
Yeah.
and they just kill it. This album is one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life.
Amazing.
And now it was released in 75, although I don't know, it was definitely recorded prior to 75. And the tapes, literally, as the title says, sat in a basement unlistened to for I don't know 5 years or whatever it is, and then they finally released it. And all of the Dylan fans had heard various bootlegs from this album, and it was like this like urban legend of this missing Bob Dylan album with the band. And then finally they officially released it in 75, and it is just so good. It's just so beautiful. Standout tracks, there's so many of them. But definitely Apple Suckling Tree, I love. Tears of Rage is incredible. Lo and Behold. Tiny Montgomery. This Wheels on Fire. Going to Acapulco. It's so like every single song is incredible. And what's so interesting about Bob Dylan is that he collaborated with a lot of different artists. Some are famous, some are not famous. The band I would say is semi-famous, and then he collaborated with a lot of session musicians that are just hardworking session musicians, right? And it's like he would in this era he was hanging out at his cottage, I think at Woodstock, and he was just jamming with the band. And then up until a certain point, and then he just like ditches everything, and then he goes to Nashville and he does a country album. So
Yeah.
it's so interesting with Dylan how his work is really divided up into these chapters of different genres that he just enters, he dominates, and then he moves on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Very cool. So you said it's from 75, is that right?
this was released in 75.
You know when it was
However,
recorded?
the recordings themselves were probably made either late 60s or early 70s.
Very cool. Very
But
cool.
this is a 1975 release, Basement Tapes. If you like Bob Dylan, if you like the band, this is a must-have album. It's
Awesome.
enormous.
Is it a double or a single?
It is a double. Yeah,
Awesome.
It is a double album. It's a big album, and it's just nonstop brilliance. Yeah,
I've heard of that before. I'll have to check it out. I've got a handful of Dylan in my collection. I don't have any of the band, and I know my friend Rob over at Northern Revolutions is a big the band fan. He loves the band, and oh, Mike Hermetz is with us. But
Hey, hey, Mike.
so I think Rob would be happy that I knew it was the Basement Tapes, but he would be disappointed with me that I don't have any of the bands. So that's definitely one if I see I'd like to pick up. I've got the band kind of on my radar, but I haven't come
Yeah.
across it yet.
And I got to be honest, I only purchased this in 2019. Okay,
Okay,
so
that's okay.
yeah, embarrassingly, I was also a little bit late to the party. Now, not my first band record, not my first Bob Dylan record either. I had
Yeah.
owned band and Bob Dylan records prior to me buying this, and I bought this in Oshawa at the annual vinyl record show, which was held in the church basement, Ukrainian church basement near the 401.
Okay. Cool. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I'll definitely have to keep my eye out for that. It's great. What I love is like that, you're saying you only found it in like 2019, but it's like
Yeah,
that music has just been sitting there like waiting for you. Like it doesn't really matter when you discover it. It's
ex-
been there the whole time, just like waiting for you to spin it and learn about this.
exactly.
Very cool. Okay,
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 so
so
that's me in 1975. Where are you
75.
taking us?
Okay, awesome. We're gonna stick with the 70s. I'll stay in the same decade. You were in the
Okay.
70s, so I'll be in the 70s, and I'm going to go with. I wasn't sure which by this band I wanted to show, but I ended up going with Even in the Quietest Moments. This is Supertramp.
Beautiful cover.
Yeah, it is. That's kind of why I chose it. I thought like it's a really cool. This was a real picture. I was reading about it before this. This is a real picture. I think it's Switzerland or something like that.
That's
And
amazing.
they
I
gu-
love that.
yeah, they gutted this grand piano and brought it up to this mountaintop and then waited for a fresh snowfall and then came up and took this picture. So it's really nice. So this is from 1977. Um, Oh, hey, Rob, my friend Rob from Northern Revolutions is here. He's just, Rob, I literally just was talking about you because Bongo just showed the Basement Tapes, and we had to talk about the band, and I said you would be sad, you'd be disappointed with me to learn that I don't have any of the band, but I was able to identify the Basement Tapes when Bongo tested me here, so I passed. But yeah, so this is Even in the Quietest Moments. This is not the most famous Supertramp album. I would say that's probably Breakfast in America or Crime of the Century. But I kind of specifically chose this A because I really like the cover, and B maybe because that reason that like it doesn't really get talked about that much.
Yeah.
Um, there's a couple of really nice songs on here. Give a Little Bit is the opening track on this, which is just such a nice, like beautiful. It's got that 12-string acoustic intro, that beautiful little riff. And
Yeah.
actually, Rob from Northern Revolutions is here. Rob is a huge Goo Goo Dolls fan, and the Goo Goo Dolls do a really nice cover of Give a Little Bit as well. And so yes, Give a Little Bit is really good. There's Even in the Quietest Moments is a really nice song on here. And then actually a song that I don't think gets talked about enough, which is the opening track on side two, which is called
Yeah.
Babaji. And Babaji is, I think, just a really nice it's a really nice song that I think is fun. It's upbeat, doesn't get talked about enough. And then there's a really long song at the end of this called "Fool's Overture," and Rob is saying, "Shame on you for not having any of the band." I will. Yes, I will get some. I will get some. But yes, it ends off with Fool's Overture, which is I think Fool's Overture is like 13 minutes or like it's quite long. Yeah, no, it's about 11 minutes, and it starts off really slow. There's actually like pieces of Winston Churchill's speech from World War II where he's like, "We will never surrender," and then it goes into the main crux of the song. And I was always saying with Supertramp was great is like it's a band with they have a clarinet, like a band with a clarinet. It's cool. It's a rock band with a clarinet. It's cool.
Yeah. Now that the cover and the title of that album kind of gives this impression that it's a compilation of softer songs. Is that the case, or does it not really stick to that formula?
I don't know if I would necessarily say. I mean, like Supertramp, they're not like it's not like heavy rock, anyways.
Right.
But I think it's like so. The title of it is Even in Quietest Moments. There's a song called Even in the Quietest Moments, and that is a very quiet, softer. So it does kind of lend itself to the title there, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the whole thing is kind of like softer. It's in the same sort of style as like what you'd expect from Supertramp.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
that's 1977.
All right. So
So it's me now. I'm taking us somewhere.
you can decide what decade we visit. We've got the 80s, we've got the 90s, and we've got the 2000s to choose from.
80s, 90s, 2000s. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go 80s. 80s.
All right. Bring it on.
Okay, this is 1986. We're changing the genre here a little bit.
Yeah, I probably everything changed in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. This is an excellent album from the 80s. Heavy thrash metal, Metallica, Master of Puppets. And if I'm not mistaken, Bongo, I think you were with me when I
I
bought
was
this.
there. I was there when you bought that.
And that would have been probably, I want to say like 2014 or 2015, something like that.
Yeah, that was probably around that time.
Yeah.
And I can't do you remember which shop it was?
I think it was Sonic Boom when it was at Bathurst and
Yeah,
Bloor.
I think you're right.
And
Yeah.
I think you came back with me to my apartment. That was when I lived in Scarborough. You came back with me, and I remember like us like we were playing this, jamming out to it.
Yeah.
So this is Metallica's third album. Um, they had there's shoot Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and then Master of Puppets. And this is, I think, I mean, you could debate it till the cows come home about like which is their best. I
Yeah.
think a lot of Metallica fans would say that this is their best, and I would probably tend to agree. I do really love Ride the Lightning as well, and I used to always say, "Oh, Master of Puppets is better," and then the more I listened to Ride the Lightning, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good too." But another really good like album cover. You've got the hands up here holding the strings, the master of the puppets, so to speak,
Yeah.
and so this is 1986, as I mentioned. This is the well, not the original Metallica lineup, but as far because they had Dave Mustaine with them before Kirk Hammett joined the band. But
Yeah.
this is the as far as them releasing studio albums. This is the original, and their bassist Cliff Burton, the original bassist, he actually tragically died on the tour for this album in
Yeah.
in 86. They were in Europe somewhere. I want to say Switzerland, but I don't know for sure. And their tour bus crashed. It like tipped over. The driver claims that
Wow.
oh, the music critic is back. Hello, welcome back. The driver claimed that he hit some black ice and slid off the road, but some said that he fell asleep at the wheel. And
Oh no.
Cliff Burton was ejected from the bus and died instantly. And so they canceled their tour at that point, like immediately canceled it, and then went back to North America and started auditioning for new bassists.
Oh my
And
god.
so it's
Yeah.
really, really tragic. But Cliff Burton was like of the members of Metallica, he was the most like he was classically trained.
Hmm.
He had studied like music theory and all that, and so
Hmm.
he was. I think they really kind of lost a really important element to their music after he passed away, and
Mm.
they were kind of never really the same. And Justice for All would follow this album, and then Justice for All is good, but for me, it's like Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets are like really really the awesome tracks or awesome albums. This is only 8 tracks on this. It's pretty long. It's almost an hour long. But every track is great. Um, Master of Puppets obviously is the huge single off of this. I remember actually, so there's a track called "The Thing That Should Not Be," and I think it kind of sounds very like it's inspired by like H.P. Lovecraft and like Cthulhu and all that. And I remember just like listening to that song and just thinking about it. And I'm like, what is it? And it's like, well, it's the thing that should not be. It's like you look at it and you just say, whatever that is, it shouldn't be. Like you see it, you're like, that just shouldn't be. And really, really cool. There's also a really nice instrumental on this, 8 minute long instrumental called Orion. And this is a little bit politically charged as well. They talk a bit about like soldiers going off to war in disposable heroes. But
Mhm.
any Metallica fan would have to have this in their collection.
Yeah. Yeah, the only Metallica album that I own is actually on CD, and that is the Black album,
That's all right.
which is a little, well, very cliche, but yeah, no, if I'm gonna get any Metallica, it's going to be Metallica from the '80s. And of the friends that I know that are into Metallica, they all talk about Master of Puppets. That seems to be like it. Would you say that? Sorry, did you say that that is probably their best in their canon?
Yeah, I think like people, so the Black Album was 91 and the Black Album was their best selling album, but that was really like mainstream. That
Yeah,
was when they really started to write kind of like mainstream, still a little bit hard rock and metal. But
yeah,
Master of Puppets is like a straight up thrash metal
yeah.
album. Same with Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All. And I think in Ride the Lightning is really good. You can really hear them kind of come into their own, but like Master of Puppets is where they really, really solidify that it's an awesome, awesome album.
All right. Okay, yeah, the '80s, so unique. There really was no decade like it. All right,
Yeah, it
so
really is a unique decade in music
it
history,
is,
I thought.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of artists awkwardly fit into the '80s. You know, for example, if you think of like '80s Beach Boys records or just like '80s anybody, like '80s Paul Simon, it's like something happened to everybody's production, and it just sounded like everybody wanted to have this artificial sound in their
Yeah.
music, even if they were traditionally rock artists or folk artists or whatever. Like everybody kind of went '80s sound, like it affected everybody, right? So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
but then metal was this really exciting underground scene that ignored everything else, right? So,
Yes. Yes.
and of course, the other thing that was blossoming in the '80s is hip hop.
Oh,
So
nice.
this is from 1987, and this is Eric B and Rakim.
Okay.
This is their first album together. It's called Paid in Full. Paid in Full. Eric B and Rakim,
Very
and
cool.
it is a fantastic album. I really love vintage retro hip hop. I really love the like just that feeling of innocence in hip hop in the '80s before it got a little bit more gangster.
Yeah.
And when they were still when the genre was still really fresh and it was literally brand new as well. And this album, Paid in Full by Eric B and Rakim, I think really encapsulates early fresh hip hop. And just and one of the things that Eric B is known, or Rakim is known for in his rapping is um like it's like there's like the rhymes just don't fall at the end of the verse. The rhymes fall in the middle of the verses as well. So
Cool.
he'll rap through a whole bunch of verses, and it's like it's not, yeah, like I said, not just the ends of the sentences, but within the sentences themselves there's a lot of rhyming that's happening as well.
That's great.
um some starting track, I Ain't No Joke, just amazing. Paid in Full is great. Eric B is President. How many? There's not too many tracks on this album. 2, 4, 6, 8, just 10 tracks. But uh just and you know, when I listen to this album, I feel like I'm being transported to the 80s with all the dudes with the boom boxes on the shoulder, and
Yeah.
just mixing beats with just two tape decks. Like, that's really what this album embodies. And I bought this recently, actually. This I bought last month, and this is a re-release. So I think this was re-released in the 2010s,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, it is a 1987 release. So
Cool.
yeah, a bit of OG hip hop for us in our time travel here.
So were you a fan of Eric B and Rakim, like that before you bought that?
I was, and you know what? The only reason I learned about it now, I can't say like growing up when I was into CDs, I had more. What did I have in my collection? I had more like Biggie Smalls, Tupac, and Eminem, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Eric B, I didn't get into Eric B until around the late 2000s, in kind of the end of the LimeWire era, kind of when torrents were a little bit more popular. I was exploring music that way, and I was just I took a lot of initiative to educate myself about the that Genesis era of hip hop,
Yeah.
and in my research, and this is just, independent research that I had done for my own self. And in my research, I had stumbled upon Eric B and Rakim, and then so initially I got the MP3s first, again in the late 2000s. So I had known the music through MP3, but then as soon as I saw this, the first time I ever saw this in a record store, I bought it right away.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, that's how I got to learn it.
I
Because yeah,
have to admit, I don't know them at all.
yeah, they're
Do not
not.
know them.
Yeah, they don't have the same kind of star power as some of the bigger artists from that era and the early 90s. They're a little bit, I don't know if they're a little overlooked or not. I wouldn't say forgotten, but yeah, no, like you said, like if you ask any random person on the street to name like the most famous top 5 hip hop acts,
Yeah.
they're probably not going to mention Eric B and Rakim. They're
Right.
definitely a little bit more hip hop, a lot more retro hip hop. Absolutely, they are. But again, like I
That's
think
your
that's my
wheelhouse.
favorite era of hip hop,
Yeah.
is like the LL Cool J, like early LL
Yeah.
Cool J, and like Eric B and Rakim falls right into that category.
So, do you know anything about their history, like their what ended up happening to them, or are they still around?
You know what? I don't actually. I don't know what happened to them. I think Rakim went solo. Uh
Ah,
Eric B was the DJ and Rakim was the rapper. And I think Rakim eventually did do albums by himself without his DJ.
well,
But
like the
I don't.
Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Very similar to that. Exactly. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, Not Fit for Sound said still a good album. Genuinely enjoying this convo. Not Fit
Awesome.
for Sounds. Hey, thanks for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Not Fit for Sounds. But yeah, Not Fit for Sounds. Do you know what Eric B and Rakim did in their later career? I'm not sure, but Not Fit says yes, it's still a good album. I really
Awesome.
enjoy it.
Awesome.
It's
Very cool.
just okay. So who's who's
So,
controlling the time machine here?
Andrea Ruzzo says Bongo coming in hot with the niche picks. Hey, it's true. Spicing it up, keeping it a little different. I like
Hey,
that.
I mean, you had the album with the piano, which, as you said, wasn't their best known, right? So I
That's right.
thought,
That's right. I like it.
yeah. You can't have it too predictable, right?
That's right. That's right. We got to keep the people entertained and keep me on my feet here.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. So that was 80s. We've done 60s. We've done 2010s. We've done 70s. We've done 80s. So we have 2 decades to go. And
okay.
you're behind the controls of the DeLorean right now.
I'm behind the controls of the DeLorean. Okay.
What
All right.
decade are you taking us to?
We'll save the 90s for last.
Okay. Okay.
Which means we're going to visit the 2000s right now. I'm not sure how many people out there were alive in the 2000s. I know all of our viewers are Not that, no, but we're gonna go to the 2000s. We're gonna go to the 2000s. If you were alive and you can remember the 2000s, okay. We're gonna talk about, this is the
Nice.
Arctic Monkeys. This is the first Arctic Monkeys album. It's called Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, which I
Great
think,
album.
yes, this album is an incredible album. I bought this in the 2000s. This is an original pressing, and that's one
Awesome.
of the, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to, okay, there you go. I was 5 when 2000 hit. There you go. So I thought that there were some people out there in the audience that that might have been a little bit younger in that era. But so this was released in '06. Now, funny enough, I knew most of these songs actually before '06, and that's because the Arctic Monkeys in the early 2000s, they were one of the first bands next to Arcade Fire that really embraced the internet and internet forums, and MP3 sharing was huge at the time too, through Napster and LimeWire and all that kind of stuff. And what I really admire about the Arctic Monkeys, and truly why they got as big as they did, is because they literally gave their music away at their shows, and they promoted the piracy and the sharing of their music. And when I look back to my first university, like, I feel like I first heard these, like, even though it's released in '05, I feel like I first heard them in maybe '04 or '03. And those were probably MP3s that people had ripped from CDs and put on LimeWire and Kazaa and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it just gave them this built-in fan base through the internet, that by the time their actual album was released, they had a million customers ready to buy it. So I really wanted to talk about an album and a band from that early genesis of the internet in its infancy, especially when it comes to music consumption. And this album is just, from top to bottom, a rush. It's such a rush. Some critics say you can take off all of the tracks and just leave the drums on, and it's still, if you just listen to the drums as the only track through the whole thing, it's still like an engaging album. And it is just awesome. Probably the one that people know is I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor,
Yeah.
but every single song here is amazing. Marty Bum is amazing. When the
Yep.
Sun Goes Down, From the Ritz to the Rubble,
Yeah.
Dancing Shoes, From the
Yeah.
View of the Afternoon, which other, Red Light Indicates Doors Are Secure. This album is just non-stop amazingness. Just absolutely love it. And I'm so happy with the fact that I was able to get, I bought this for under $10 in probably, this was before I moved to Korea, which was in 2007. So I probably bought this in 2006 for, I'm pretty sure it was under $10 as well. So
Awesome. So were you spinning vinyl back then?
I started collecting vinyl around the year 2000.
Awesome. Wow.
Around the
You're
year
an OG.
2000 is when I started collecting vinyl. Yeah, I was, I don't know, my parents have always collected antiques, so I've grown up around antiques. And then I had fallen in love with music around in the late 90s. I fell in love with CDs. And then I discovered this medium. And I was, and I love physical stuff, and I love artwork too, right? So it was just I just gravitated towards vinyl
Awesome.
early on, and yeah, I've been hooked ever since. So
Yeah, that's great. That album, I'm familiar with it. I remember that, like, that one. You and I are the same age, Bongo, and I remember, like, that was university to me. Hearing that album, I heard it a lot in university.
yeah. Okay.
Also, we have a
Yeah, let's do a
controversial.
chat checkup. Yeah, what are the comments
Yes,
that you're getting?
I've got this. Our troll here, Andrea Ruzzo, says that she disagrees with your 2000s pick.
Yeah, what would she rather
I
I
don't
be
know.
holding here?
She hasn't said. She hasn't said yet, but
You know what? Andrea introduced me to the Arctic Monkeys.
yeah,
So
I feel like this would be a band that Andrea would be into.
she knew this band before I did.
Maybe
So
she had something else envisioned for the 2000s.
Yeah, well, you let us know what that might be, two Zeds. And I've got some comments here that I want to check up on. Bongo tends to surprise you. That's right, not sound effects. I was 5 when 2000 hit. OMG, LimeWire. Yes, we all love LimeWire. Rest in peace.
Yep.
Panda Bear. Panda Bear says, hey, 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 I came to leave a lurk as I'm with family right now, but wanted to say that I got my hat in the mail. Yay, let's go. Okay, yeah, so Panda Bear is the proud owner of a Bongo Picks hat.
Awesome.
Enjoy your lurk. Blue Eagle says, I was 3 in the year 2000. Hey, Bongo, Arctic Monkeys are cool, but do you have any punk albums? I do have punk albums. Actually, in my 80s, when we were talking about 80s, I decided to go with hip hop just because all the rest of my albums are guitar based drums. So I just wanted to throw a little bit of variety in there
That's a good
with the hip
variety.
hop. But if it wasn't for Eric B and Rakim with the vintage hip hop here, I would have been pulling out a Dead Kennedys album probably.
Cool.
I do have punk albums, including Dead Kennedys. I love the Dead Kennedys, and then 90s stuff like Offspring. I've got Sex Pistols, of course, is another brilliant punk band. So yeah, I'm a huge punk fan. Do you like punk as well, Blue Eagle? And Panda Bear says, have a good stream. I'll catch you next time. Have a good one, Bongo. You take care, Panda Bear. Thanks for dropping by.
Okay. Well, let's do a little recap here. So we're doing
Let's do it.
vinyl time travel. We're exploring different albums from different decades, from the 60s to the 2010s. We talked about our 1969. We had got them Old Cosmic Blues from Janis Joplin, Let It
Yeah.
Bleed from the Rolling Stones. Then we time traveled to the 2010s and
Yeah.
we got Matt Mays, which was Once Upon a Hell of a Time. Your pick from the 2010s was John K. Sampson.
Yep.
Then we went to the 70s and we got shoot, what was your 70s pick?
It was a band that you don't own just yet
Oh,
with
that's
Bob
right.
Dylan.
The Basement Tapes. Yes, the
Basement
Basement Tapes.
Tapes.
Bob
Yeah.
Dylan and the band. Mine was Super Tramp, Even in the Quietest Moments. Then we went to the 80s. We had Master Puppets from Metallica. And then we got Eric B and Rakim.
That's it. Yeah.
And then we went to the 2010s. We have the Arctic Monkeys, which is whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. And then my selection for the 2010s
We're in the
is
2000s.
2000s. Yes, sorry.
We're in the 2000s, right?
Is the Foo Fighters, that In Your Honor.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest with you, I was going to pick this even before Taylor Hawkins passed away, but
Yeah.
it's even more apropos now that he has passed away. Rest in peace, Taylor, the drummer of the Foo Fighters
Yeah.
since like the late 90s. Um, so this is a double album by the Foo Fighters. This is from 2005.
Yeah.
Um, this is so double album. So disc one is a rock album,
Yeah.
complete rock tracks, and disc two is an acoustic album of just acoustic, slower, calmer tracks. And this is another one. You just showed Arctic Monkeys. That reminded me of university, and this is one that I was listening to a lot in university. And really, really good one. Another one with a really good opening track, In Your Honor. The Best of You, you might have heard. I think
Yeah.
DOA was a single off of this one. Um, the Deepest Blues Are Black is a really good one. End Over End, those are all
Yeah.
from like the rock portion of this, and then you've got from the acoustic portion, we've got another round, Friend of a Friend, which actually is written solely by Dave Grohl. I believe it was written in 1990, right around when he met up with Nirvana. And Friend of a Friend is written, I think, about Kurt Cobain. And
Okay. Mm-hmm.
there's a line in the song where he says he he thinks he drinks too much because when he tells his two best friends, I think I drink too much, no one speaks. And I always thought
Mm.
that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's actually a song on this called Cold Day in the Sun, which was written by Taylor Hawkins, solely by
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Hawkins, and it was sung by Taylor Hawkins. And Taylor Hawkins actually has a really, really nice voice.
Cool.
And if you've ever seen the Foo Fighters live, Dave would usually get behind the kit for at least one song and play the drums while Taylor sang. And
Sweet.
yeah, and so that's a really good one, Cold Day in the Sun. And actually, I always thought that Taylor Hawkins sounded a lot like Dave Grohl. Like it was sometimes hard to distinguish. Uh, yes, so Andrea says, I love the Arctic Monkeys, but there's a couple others I'd pick before it. Excellent choice with Let It Bleed. Knew you'd pick Matt Mays for the 2010s. She knows, yeah. And then the last one I'll say on here is Razor, which is the final track on the acoustic version of this on the acoustic disc, which is a really nice Dave Grohl song as well. And what's cool about this is like Foo Fighters as like they're a rock band. They release rock albums, but this is a nice like softer side of the Foo Fighters where you get both a rock album and then you get an acoustic album as well. So
Yeah.
really nice pick from 2005 Foo Fighters.
Did you say that you've seen the Foo Fighters live?
Yes, I actually I was supposed to see the Foo Fighters way back in the 2000s. It might have even been for that tour.
Yeah.
And I got a concussion and I couldn't go. And
Yeah.
and then I saw them with my concert friend Sean Lagan. I saw them for their Concrete and Gold tour, and it was really cool. It was a funny story because Sean was like my concert buddy, where if
Yeah.
there's a show happening, he's a guy that I would always call like, hey, let's go to this show. And we were seeing the Foo Fighters were in town. We didn't have tickets, but my brother-in-law Colin and my sister Kelly had spare tickets, and I was at work, and they asked me if I wanted their spare tickets. I messaged Sean, asked him if he wanted them. He ended up getting back to me an hour or two later, said yes. I messaged my brother-in-law, and he's like, "Oh, I've already sold them to somebody else, so I don't have them." And
Dang.
then we
Yeah.
were so like set on seeing them that night that we're just like, "What the hell? Like, let's just buy the worst tickets we can and just get inside the building." They were playing at the Sky Dome in Toronto. Like, we'll just get inside the building and we'll just see what happens. And we bought like really bad tickets that was right up. If anyone's ever been to the Sky Dome, there's like the Jumbotron, and then there's seats like literally beside the Jumbotron. There's a huge slab of concrete right beside you. And so we couldn't see this, we barely see the stage. We could just see Dave standing at the end of the stage. And the sound was so bad, like the
Yeah.
sound was bouncing off the far wall and then hitting us. So like it was just so much reverb and so bad, and we were so displeased. And then at that point we're just like, you know what, let's see what we can do. And so we started traveling through, and we were in the 500 section, but we ended up um going to like dead right at home plate, which was dead center to where the band was playing. And we went home plate up on the 500s, walked all the way to the very back, and I knew that there were standing room seats there. And so we just happened to go. The people that were staying there just had gotten kicked out, so it was open. We stood there for the rest of the show. The acoustics were totally fine, and we just had a great time. It was a good show.
Sometimes you just got to get into the building.
That's right. Just get into the building. Exactly. Anything else can happen. Uh,
Anything could, you get bumped up, you could be moved up, anything. Yeah. You
yes.
got some good comments there?
And yes, Andrea says both good choices for 2000s, but the correct answer is White Blood Cells by the White Stripes.
Mm.
Good one. Very good one.
Out of the White Stripes canon, that's a hard band to pick a favorite album. Maybe Get Behind Me, Satan.
Yeah,
Maybe would be my favorite White Stripes album, but it's very hard. Yeah, they've got 6 studio albums, and every single one is a gem. But
absolutely. Yeah. And maybe if we do Vinyl Time Travel again, maybe we'll see some White
this
Stripes.
isn't the last. I mean, I love time travels,
That's
so
right.
this is
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
that's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that was the 2000s. Now we're traveling to the 90s, right?
the final decade that's
And
remaining.
so, what's funny is while I was in 2005,
Yeah,
um, talking about In Your Honor,
yeah.
as I was getting into the DeLorean, Dave Grohl actually jumped in with me. and he traveled with me to 1991, and we have Nirvana, Nevermind.
There you go.
Uh,
Definitive album of the 90s.
oh, absolutely. This was like a powerhouse of the 90s. We were kind of talking about the 80s and how the 80s had a really distinctive sound.
Yeah.
And this album really ushered in sort of a new sound for the 90s. It obviously is part of the grunge movement from Seattle in the early 90s when you have Nirvana, you've got Soundgarde, Pearl Jam. Um, this this album is amongst one of the greatest top selling albums of all time. I think it's sold over 30 million albums, um,
Wow.
and really kind of shaped the sound of the 90s going forward, helped to shape the sound of the 90s going forward. Um, Kind of turned away from like this sort of glam hair metal that you were seeing, at least in rock and roll, that you were
Yeah.
seeing towards the end of the decade,
Yeah.
and really ushered in like the grunge and the alternative movement that would become so prominent in the 90s. Um, so obviously the opening track on here smells like Teen Spirit, which is such a legendary, like track of the 90s. In Bloom, Come As You Are. I love Lithium, one of my favorites from
Yeah.
Nirvana. Um, Drain You, Stay Away, On a Plane. Another album that's like start to finish, great tracks, definitive album for the 90s, and one that from me when I was growing up in the 90s, it was everywhere. This album and like Nirvana, and then even Kurt Cobain after he passed away was just like we said with Janis Joplin, like better to burn out than fade away. Is like Kurt Cobain passing away, just put him in the the ether of great artists forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's the whole story of Kurt Cobain is it's a little bit tragic because he all he wanted to do was to be real and to be genuine, and I think he really accomplished that through his I think to him grunge is just raw expression,
Yeah,
and that's what he really tried to do with his albums, and I really don't think that he cared for the fame and the glory and all that kind of stuff, and I think that that part of the experience is what his demise basically, and it is really too bad with the
yeah,
way that it happened, but he's really cemented his space in pop culture for sure.
absolutely, yeah. We
Hmm.
have a comment here from Andrea. Says, I don't know how Bongo could betray Jack by picking the Arctic Monkeys.
I'm so
She's
sorry to disappoint you, Andrea.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
it's
We
not a matter of betrayal, please.
maybe we need to get Andrea in on this, and she can make some time travel choices as well, since she has a lot of opinions about our choices.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. Was it a mistake that I went with the Arctic Monkeys? I don't think so. No. Um, Again, this isn't going to be the last time we do this, so
Yeah,
we're going to sneak in some White Stripes
yeah,
somewhere.
eventually, yeah. Andrea also says, she says, not a huge fan of Nirvana, but I still know every song on that album. Great choice. And I think that's it. It's like if you grew up in the 90s, all of those songs you were hearing, like everyone I know, like my older sister Kelly was a Nirvana fan, and she had that CD, and that was
Yeah.
when I first was introduced to it. So you couldn't get away from that album in the 90s. It was huge.
No. No, it was on that patch was on everybody's backpack.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
The
mean?
the
The
smiley the smiley
t-shirts,
face. Yeah,
the smiley face,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
Bongo, you're gonna take us on our last trip here.
on our last trip here to the 90s. And just a quick chat check up here. Eagle says, would have been sick. I listened to mainly punk, not much of anything else. Okay, so we've got another punk in the audience.
Yeah, we're
Another
lacking
time, another time, we'll definitely talk about punk. But
lacking on the punk representation in this.
and again, I went with hip hop instead of
Yeah,
punk. And then I thought, all right, so the Monkees will be kind of a pseudo punk album that I'll
that's
squeeze
true.
into.
That's
So that's
true.
the
Yeah.
way I looked at it. Could I have put in one of the White Stripes albums? Probably. I definitely could have. But you know what? And one of the reasons, Andrea, I don't think that we actually own an original pressing of the White Stripes vinyl. I think all of our White Stripes vinyls are re-releases, aside from the Third Man Record Vault uh, albums that we get
Yeah,
directly from Jack White, and those
yeah,
are original pressings of
right,
like re-releases, though.
right.
So, but like this that Monkeys album, which I know you're really dissing right now, is from
Arctic monkeys,
'06.
not monkeys. Arctic monkeys.
Arctic Monkeys. Sorry, I
You
shouldn't
should
abbreviate. Like,
differentiate.
yeah, because there's of course there's another band called the Monkeys, and
Yeah,
we can't get those two mixed up, right? All right, so Nirvana, that was '91, right?
that was
Never
91.
mind.
Yeah,
All right, so let's fast forward a couple years, and there's another grungy band.
I think I know what it is just by seeing it. I think I know.
Can you
Oh,
take a guess?
oh no, it's not. It's not who I thought it was. No.
Can you take a guess?
Oh, I can see now. It's the Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream.
That's right. Yes. So I have to be transparent about the fact that this is a re-release. Oh,
That's
Rodri
okay.
from Peru's in the house. Hi, Rodri. Nice to have you on the stream here today. Welcome in. Uh, and anyways, yeah. So this is released in 1993. Siamese Dream is the album title, and this was the breakthrough album for the Pumpkins. It's their second album. The first one was called Gish, and then along comes this album. Who is vinyl? Well, so these are vinyl records, Rodri, and like yeah. So this is my friend Chris here, and Chris's his YouTube channel name is Stylus Meets Vinyl. So of course, the stylus is the needle, and then the vinyl is the vinyl record. Okay, Rodri says hi, Chris. A close friend?
Hello.
Question mark. Yes,
That's
Chris
right.
and I are very close friends.
That's right.
We've been collecting and listening to vinyl together for probably 2 decades now. I think we can confidently say that, right?
Yes, yes.
But yeah, so yeah, feel free, Roger, to ask any questions as they may come up. Anyways, this is a re-release. I think the re-release is in the 2010s. Yeah, 2011. So this was re-released
Okay,
in 2011.
that's all right.
Originally released in 1993. But even as a re-release, Andrea was actually on Discogs earlier today, just kind of doing some cataloging, and she said that this is valued at between $250 to $300, even as a
Wow.
re-release. Yeah, apparently Billy Corgan is, of course, he's the leader of the Smashing Pumpkins. He's the musical genius behind the band, and he's a control freak and a nitpicking, detailed kind of person. And apparently he's very weird about the way things are pressed and how many of them are. So he doesn't, this is what Andrew was telling me too, is that he doesn't typically release a lot of their stuff as it is anyways. So apparently this version here is a bit of a collector's item, even as a re-release.
Awesome.
So that's why I thought I had it. It carries a little bit of credibility for that reason. And I got this as a Christmas gift from my brother-in-law, and he probably paid $35 for this thing, right?
Awesome.
It is just a single album, but it is of course they have it pressed on super heavy vinyl, so it does include a gatefold. So it is a pretty beautiful compilation. I love this kind of shiny,
Yeah, it's like
hologramic.
glossy.
Yeah, kind of glossy, and it's just really beautifully packaged as well. And this album, just from start to finish, is incredible. Of course, the tracks that you hear on grunge radio and 90s radio today, Disarm, Cherub Rock, those are probably the top three. And Rocket they play from time to time as well. But it's just chock full of amazing music. This was their breakthrough album, and the Pumpkins have a history of fighting, and unfortunately, a little bit of dysfunction. It has been a part of the Pumpkins, again, because Billy Corgan has such a controlling and egotistical personality. He's got such a large personality, right?
Yeah.
Apparently Billy Corgan played all of the instruments except for the drums on this album. Like, that's how of a control perfectionist he was. Yeah, he he didn't quite let the bassist and the lead guitarist contribute too much.
Wow.
But nevertheless, they blasted into pop culture in 1993, and the Smashing Pumpkins after that were a huge name. And I actually think that Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, which is the double album that came right after this,
Yep.
I think that Melancholy is actually a superior album to Siamese Dream. I don't own it on vinyl yet, but despite the fact that Melancholy I think is more superior, this album is still a standout must-have album and has a very special place in my heart.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Andrea says that our 90s picks totally complement one another. I'd say that's true.
The fact that you went with Nevermind and I
Yeah.
went with Siamese Dream. I mean, that was the beginning of the 90s, and like you were saying with the effect that Nevermind had on pop culture when that bursted onto the scene. The Pumpkins just followed that tributary that
Yeah.
when the dam got breached, and then
That's right.
that edgy fast music started to really infect the radio waves. So I love how the two correlate right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, is our time journey over?
Well, I think so. I think so. I always say that the hardest part about live streaming is ending the stream.
I know. It's like you don't want it to end.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the viewers don't want it to end either as well.
Yes.
Rodri, I'll get to your comment in just a second here, but yeah, so there you have it, everybody. We visited the 60s through to the 2010s.
Let's see if I can do a little roundup.
Yeah, let's do a roundup.
I'll do a visual roundup.
Visual roundup. Yeah, please do. All right, I'll go. I'll start us off. So yeah, my pick from the 60s was Janice Joplin. I got them Cosmic Blues.
I got Let It Bleed from Rolling
Let It
Stone.
Bleed. Coincidentally, 2 albums from 1969.
That's right.
70s pick for me was the Basement Tapes, released in 1975, however, recorded prior to that date. And of course, you had
the Even in the Quietest Moments from Tramp,
with a fantastic album cover.
Yes.
Did they helicopter that piano on that cliff?
I don't know. I mean, probably. I know they gutted it out, so it's not like it was
right.
kind of hollow. But.
Right. Okay, and then approaching our freakishly different decade, the 80s. I pulled hip hop out with Eric B and Rakim, and then of course, Chris, you had
thrash metal, Master of Puppets, Metallica.
There you go, thrash metal. And I think that complements. Yeah, I like how we had such different genres there, yes, but still 80s definitive genres.
Yes. Then we got 90s, Nirvana, Nevermind.
And I had, of course, Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins.
And my friend Rob from Northern Revolution says, agree that Melancholy is better. Hard to find on vinyl, though. Money, money, money. It's expensive.
How much does your friend there know how much Melancholy would cost?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Billy Corgan is so weird about where his music appears. Like few copies, very similar to like how this is now a collector's item, and this is valued around $250. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and then we got the 2000s.
Yeah.
In Your Honor from Foo Fighters, 2005.
All right. And then very controversially, I went with the Arctic Monkeys debut album, Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, 06.
And then 2010s, I have from 2017, Matt Mays, Once Upon a Hell of a Time. I know Rob at Northern Revolution is a huge Matt Mays fan as well, so I have no doubt that he has this album as well.
Amazing. And then I also followed suit with Canadian content, John K. Samson, Winter Wheat from 2016.
Awesome. What a great little journey that we've been on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and the next time we get together, we'll have to spin some of these albums.
Absolutely. I can't wait. Yeah, Rob says that it's hundreds of dollars, the Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah, Andrea says I've
Wow.
seen it on eBay for thousands. It's super expensive. So yeah, you
What?
need to have some money to be able to
I
afford that.
feel, and you know what? I feel like I've seen it in record stores before, maybe 10 years ago. Hindsight is 2020. I can't go back in time now, right? I'm lucky
Yeah.
enough to have Siamese Dream,
Hey, you just
but
did go back in time a bunch of times.
we
What are you
did.
talking about? Go back in time and buy it in the 90s.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
while I'm at it, I'll buy all these other retro things, like all these super like valuable retro games. And oh my goodness, if only we hoarded more.
That's right. That's right. All
Yeah.
right, Bongo, I think this is where we part ways.
All right. Well, hey, Chris, it's been another amazing session. For those of you that are on Twitch and you're curious about checking out Chris's channel, look up Stylus Meets Vinyl over on YouTube.
Yes, and Bongo here at Bongo Picks. You can look him up on YouTube, and also he's got his old Twitch thing going on. So, Bongo, what's your Twitch for anyone on YouTube who doesn't have you?
To find me on YouTube,
On Twitch.
on Twitch, just go, it's twitch.tv/BongoPicks. And that's where you can
Awesome.
find my Twitch channel.
Awesome. Well, Bongo, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.